So part of our mission in classical conversations is to grow more comfortable and confident when we speak and communicate with other people. And so I have saved my favorite for last, and this year you will earn a credit for speech and debate. So let's look at what speech and debate looks like in Challenge 1. Throughout the year, we'll be learning the basics of team policy debate. Now, team policy debate is a 2-on-2 debate over a policy in American government. So, our resolution this year is resolved. The United States federal government should significantly reform its import and/or export policy within the bounds of international trade. Whew, that's a mouthful. So before we can get up and debate, we need to first understand some things. What is import policy? What is export policy? What's the purpose? How is it functioning? Are there areas where our policies are weak or they cause harm to American citizens? So we have to research what exists right now. Once we identify some of those harms in the current system, then we can start to build our arguments. We'll say, hey, this policy exists and it's bad. And here's how I know that to be true. And then here's how we can fix it. So those possible fixes are called plans, and we construct affirmative cases to propose that plan to the United States government. But as I mentioned before, there are two teams. So the affirmative team is trying to affirm the resolution that there's a change that is needed. The negative team is standing back saying, hey, wait a second. Things are great just the way they are. We don't need to change this. And plus, their change might have some unintended consequences. So as the negative team is listening to the affirmative team's case, they might have some questions that they want to ask to clarify what that proposed plan is. And those questions are called cross-examination. So once you've clarified the case, now you want to refute the arguments of your opponent. And this is going to go back and forth like a ping pong game. So one team will make a proposal, the other team will say, hey, wait a second, here are some problems. Then that first team will get back up again and say, those aren't problems, and here's how we're going to overcome them, and so on and so forth throughout the round. It's important to note that in debate, being right is not the primary goal. It's being persuasive. So remember that you're going to be asked to debate both sides of this issue. And we're not trying to say who is right or wrong. We're trying to say who is most persuasive and can persuade that judge toward their way of thinking. In addition to practicing policy debate, we're also going to be practicing some limited preparation speeches and some interpretation speeches. So limited preparation speeches are you walk into the room, you draw a topic, you're given a few minutes to prepare, and then you stand up and give a speech. Now, if that sounds utterly terrifying to you, I want you to think about how many times this is going to happen to you in real life. Somebody walks up to you and asks a question. And it'd be a little uncomfortable to say, give me 3 weeks and I'll come back and have a conversation with you. There are so many times where we need to be prepared in season and out of season to give a reason for the hope we profess. So limited preparation speeches help us to practice. But then there are also interpretation speeches, and these are speeches which bring literature to life. So you might choose your favorite children's story or a famous poem or a speech that you want to perform in character. You're actually going to take on a character of somebody other than you. So we'll work on these things all throughout the year. Let's look at how we can assess those. All right, when it comes to assessing speech and debate, we are going to assess the writing of those policy cases. We're going to assess the delivery of the 1AC. Then we're also going to write a negative brief. That is a collection of negative arguments that have claims supported by evidence, and then an impact which tells us why those arguments matter. So you will get an assessment on your negative brief. And then the debates that we hold in class will also have assessments that go with those. For those speeches, likewise, there are assessment rubrics that we'll use and will help give you feedback in class, and then your parents can assess those at home. So overall, through the whole semester, you'll see that there are several debates, there are several different speeches, and we're going to have a lot of fun together.